You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Welcome into RBLR Lightning. My name is Eureka, and I am back on the ice. And the Bolts are back on the ice, baby. We have games to talk about. So with me to do that, of course, is the one and only Chris Glazier. Chris, what's up, man?
Feeling good to be back on the ice with you, man. It's been a long time coming. You know, we kind of went our separate ways there for a little bit, but now we're paired back together on the ice, and we can go ahead and be the Bash Brothers again that we were. So I'm feeling excited, you know, ready to talk some hockey, obviously. The Lightning playing really well. You know, best record in hockey right now. I couldn't be in a better mood, you know. All things considered, the Lightning are going through right now, you know, it's all sunshine and rainbows right now, man. Everything's looking good, you know. Injuries are clearing up. So I'm in a really good mood, man, and I'm ready to talk about these past couple games the Lightning have played.
Yeah, man, the Bolts are back in first place. We were tied with Toronto with 42 points. However, we got to play 2 games in the week, and they didn't. So Tampa Bay is now 9-1-0 in their last 10 games. Toronto is 7-2-1. So it's really close. It's still really close. However, one other great ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds is that Brayden Point is back on the ice. Well, I mean, we're going to get into it when we talk about the game, but how good is it to see Brayden Point, not just skating, not just these little practice shots we've been getting, he was actually in the blue and white.
I think Brayden Point is going to be one of the top premier players in the league for years to come. I think his skill set is phenomenal. Him being on the ice just makes such a big difference. His speed, his ability to stop on a dime and score like we saw last night, but his skill set is just amazing, man. Like the stuff you see him do, and he's so young, and it just goes to show, you know, how well the Lightning have done with drafting and developing these guys and keeping them around. Man, I was texting my buddy last night saying, just, man, Brayden Point is a top player in the league, and he's going to slowly become that guy that's watched year after year. I think he's got plenty of years left. He's amazing, man. He really is. He amazes me every time he's on the ice. You never know what you're going to get from him. So definitely glad he's back on the ice. You know, obviously we've been missing him and Cooch, and it's like, yeah, you know, the Lightning are sitting still in first place, missing these 2 guys. Yeah. So just imagine the damage we could be doing had these guys been in this entire season. Who knows? You know, I kind of made a joke about us being undefeated, but that'd be really cool to see if, barring any injuries, you know. But all jokes aside, I'm really glad Point is back. He's definitely the future of this team and the future of the league for sure.
Well, another person that was drafted by this franchise, they molded, they have brought up, and now with 900 plus points to his record. Well, you weren't on the show. I got to talk a little bit about it, but Steven Stamkos going over the 900 point threshold. I said last week it is the second most in franchise history, behind the one and only Martin St. Louis, and he already holds the record for most goals. Now it's just getting those 50-something points to get over St. Louis. He becomes, the 118th guy in the NHL to ever do it, and only 13 active players have more points than Steven Stamkos. There was a really cool tribute video at the arena. Were you able to see any of the videos and tributes and stuff, either on social media or whatnot?
I saw a little bit on social media. I didn't see anything, as far as what they did at the game, but I did see some stuff on social media. So, I'm really happy for Stamkos. All the injuries, everything that, he's been through, a leader of this team that we talk about all the time and joke about that people wanted him traded and gone, and Stamkos isn't the same. And yeah, we hear those people chirping sometimes, but everything he's been through, man, just to see him hit that milestone. Barring all these injuries, he would have been way past that years ago, I think. But I think this year he's back to full form. I think he looks healthy. He's obviously leading the team in goals right now with 14. He's really stepping up with the absence of Cooch. Point. He's leading these younger guys, and I think he's having a huge impact in the locker room for guys like Kachuk and those younger guys like Radish, Colton guys, and guys like him. So I'm really happy for Stammer. I hope he finishes his career with the team, and I couldn't ask for a better captain for the Lightning.
The other record that was set last week we didn't get to talk about was Andrei Vasilevskiy setting an NHL record when in the game against the Senators. He earned the most wins in a calendar year, beating Marc-Andre Fleury had the most before it, but now, including the games we had this week, Vasilevskiy's now up to 64 wins in the calendar year of 2021. He's played a lot of hockey. I know we've talked a lot about how much is too much, and when are they going to hold him back? Well, he's got 64 wins in 12 months combined here in 2021. So ESPN just had an article naming Vasilevskiy the most indispensable player for the Lightning. So, do you think Vasilevskiy is the most indispensable player, and how impressive is it to win 64 games in the course of a year?
100%, no doubt in my mind, man. This guy is the quarterback. This guy is our Tom Brady. He's the leader of this team. We wouldn't be where we were without him. He's bailed us out of so many games where the defense has just had really bad games and bad lapses in games, and he's bailed us out plenty of times. I joke about it all the time, but he really wants to play every single game. He doesn't like taking days off, even on back-to-backs. I'm sure Cooper has to tell him, to just relax and enjoy a day off. But he's the most important player on our team. When you have a goalie like him, who is allowing, I think he's allowed 2.14 goals allowed this year, which is phenomenal, especially in a higher scoring league now. The way the NHL is set up, goals are, they fire away nowadays compared to 10, 15 years ago. So I think a guy like Vasi is a guy you need. You have all the confidence in the world in him. When he's in net, I don't worry. He's really hard to win. Obviously, when we're in the playoffs, those back-to-back games, he still goes out there and just doesn't look tired. So it's highly important to have a goalie like Vasi. It just solidifies this team. So I think he's one of those guys. Like I said, I want to keep him a Bolt forever too. I think as long as Vasi is in net, we have a shot at continuing to win, continuing to make playoffs, and continuing to see good things come our way. So absolutely love Vasi. I think he is. We wouldn't be anywhere without him right now.
Well, since we last spoke on this RBLR pod here, the Bolts have played a couple games. They won both of those games. And before we get to that, just wanted to say, however you're listening to this, if you're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you're on, hit that little like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever's right there next to you. That way you get this in your inbox every time that we drop. So let's get into it, man. It might have been a little bit longer than a week ago, but it was a 4-3 victory at Vegas against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Chris, this was an ugly win, but the Bolts were able to make the comeback. If you look, Gabriel Forte gets his name in the scorebook for the first NHL goal of his career. This was a crazy stretch in the second with Cirelli and Bellemare scoring within 43 seconds of each other. Eventually, Stammer hits the game-winning goal, and Vasilevskiy ends up with 38 saves, and I think he probably saved the game from being out of reach in the beginning. Any overall thoughts, and we'll dig in period by period here, but kind of overall thoughts about this game against Vegas?
First, this just goes to show that this team has faced so much adversity all season, as we talked about the injuries, and this team always just seems to find a way to win, and that's what's made this team so successful. They don't worry when they're down by 2. As they say, 2-goal lead in hockey is the most dangerous lead you can have. The Lightning don't panic. They know they have plenty of time to come back. They know they can do it with the weapons. the one thing about the Bolts is they all really believe in their system, and you can tell the system that Cooper preaches, the team really believes in it, and I think that's really important key to be a successful hockey team and an organization. So, this, like I said, this just goes to show one of those games again where it's like we're going to Vegas. Vegas has played us pretty well since they've been in the league for a couple years now. We're down guys, we're traveling, the team's tired, and we still find a way to win and get it done with Stamkos. With the game-winning goal at the end, just the captain just stepping up again. Obviously, the one thing that really did stand out to me was the 41 shots. Vegas fired away, and sometimes those stats can be miscued. Doesn't mean they're high percentage shots. A lot of teams just like to fire away, so sometimes that can be a little miscued. But 41-19 in shots, I definitely don't like seeing that. And if I'm looking at that and not looking at the score, I would think, wow, Vegas had to have won this game. But the Bolts, like I said, they found a way to win. Vasi had a big game for us. So overall, I think it wasn't the best game, like you said. It was a little sloppy, but we found a way to win. And at the end of the day, like we say, 2 points are 2 points, and getting a win against Vegas out on the West Coast is very important. So overall, I'm happy we got the win here.
Yeah, it was important. They somehow came out tied after the first period. Vasilevsky making 16 saves in the first period alone. And even that goal that was given up was a bit of a bad bounce. There was a little bit of chaos, and it ended up going off of Ruda's foot into the net. But Vegas coming out hot, like you said, they play us really, really well, and they're atop their division as well. So they're playing very tight defense. They made a lot of blocks. They just did a great job of kind of denying the offensive zone for the Bolts in the first period. And going into the second, that's when the damage was really starting to show. Is that the Vegas, I think, had our number, and just we could not break through. And they were owning possession. They were getting shots off. But like you said, maybe not 100% amazing chances or whatnot, but definitely making the Bolts work for it. And all that momentum, all those shots ended up going in the back of the net in the second period, as Vegas is still playing amazing defense. And unfortunately, the Bolts are down 3-1 halfway through the second. But it was an amazing comeback towards the end of in the last few minutes of the second period. You got Belmar and Cirelli who tie it up so that they're able, after going down 3-1, they're somehow able to come out of the second period tied 3-3, as Belmar and Cirelli score within 43 seconds of each other. Chris, would anyone expect Belmar and Cirelli to score within a minute of each other on this team?
No, but that's just the adversity we face, and these guys are stepping up when we need them to. PEB's been really well, done really well in the faceoff zone since we got him. I think it's been another good signing by the Bolts. Sometimes we get those guys, you're like, head scratcher a little bit, but the Bolts seem to really know what they're doing when it comes to trading and making moves and putting guys in the right spot, which is why we've been so successful lately. So guys like PEB, Cirelli, who's third on the team in goals with 9, Anthony Cirelli, I think we talked about it in the beginning of the season. I think we said Cirelli was that guy that we wanted to all see have a good year, and I think it was his time to shine, and he's done that so far this year. He's been great shorthanded. He's very he's that guy that's all over you when you got the puck, and you need those kind of guys on when you're trying to kill a penalty. So guys like Cirelli, PEB really stepping up. Corey Perry's been stepping up a lot lately, even maybe contributing to his scoring, yes, but he's also doing really well getting in front of the net, taking guys out, being that chirping fourth liner that you need to get stuff started along with Maroon. So it's really good to see guys like PEB and Cirelli get on the scoreboard.
Now, speaking more from Vegas's side, or really just anybody as you're going against the Lightning, like, why do you think, if you were going to attack the Bolts effectively, like, what do you think the game plan would be to kind of shut down the Lightning offense? And we saw that up until late in the second, Vegas was able to do that.
In order to shut down the Lightning's forecheck, I think you need a lot of pressure on them. You need to stay on them. You don't want to give them space, because when the Lightning have space, we're a very fast team, and that's what really creates a lot of those odd man rushes where you can send point, on a 2-line pass from Hedman, and we see those a lot. The Lightning do that a lot. They set up those plays because we're so fast without the puck, and we move really well without the puck, which I think is important in the league. So we got tons of guys that are really good with puck handling. So you really got to put pressure on the Bolts, man. You can't let the Lightning sit in your zone and fire away, because we will tire you down, we will wear you down. Sometimes the Lightning do like to look for that perfect shot, but while you're doing that, you got to think the defense is getting tired. So it's not necessarily a bad thing when we're passing, around in the zone a little bit and getting the team tired and wearing them down and making those important line changes in those periods. So you really got to put a lot of pressure on the Bolts, and Vegas was able to do that for a little bit, but you can only do it for so long against Tampa, and that's why we're so hard to beat, and that's why we are back-to-back champs. We're really aggressive on the forecheck, and we can score a lot of goals. So you gotta put pressure on the Bolts in order to shut them down.
Yeah, that's exactly what Vegas did. They really just held firm at that blue line into the offensive zone. Really weren't letting anything by them. Just swarming defense for more than 2 periods, but the Bolts came out focused and on fire in the third. Just after tying up that game again, it kind of felt like they were playing with house money, to have a little bit of a Vegas term there, but it ends up being a power play Stammer goal that is the game-winning goal. They had to play a little bit defense towards the end of the third period, but they didn't let it go. It wasn't one of the, we had talked about the woes of the third period. And we'll get into that with the Canadiens game, but it was like the woes of the third period were maybe the black cloud above the head, but the Bolts came out focused. How did you think they ended the game here?
Oh man, there's no better way than a story, a book story, story ending with Stamkos on the power play, man. Well, that's what you need. That's what you want. Set Stamkos up, let him fire away from the slot where he likes to stay, because he's going to bury those. So it's important for a guy like Stamkos right now. Like I said, he's really carrying the team. He's leading the team in goals right now with 14. So Stamkos is back. Stamkos is healthy. When you have that on the ice, along with guys like Point, these younger guys like Cirelli, Perry's playing well. So it's a lot of guys you got to stop on the power play. So that's why I was getting frustrated with the power play early on in the season, because we have so many guys that can score from so many different positions on the ice. Hedman likes to take a lot of shots. Sergachev will take shots from the blue line as well, and look for those deflections in front with guys like Killorn and Perry. So I think, what a better way to end it than on a power play goal from your captain, man. Man. Great ending, great finish. Like I said, 2 points are 2 points. This was an important game to me because I'm not a Vegas fan, man. Just not. Don't like Vegas. Like I said, they've played us well. So I definitely enjoyed beating the Knights. I know it's a little, they haven't been around long, but I kind of have that rivalry feeling out on the West Coast with them, because they like to give us the best they got, So I enjoyed beating Vegas, and I'm glad we were able to come away with 2 points here.
Well, another team that there's a little bit of a rivalry brewing. We took them out in the playoffs this year. It was the 5-4 overtime victory against the Montreal Canadiens. And Corey Perry having a good game against his old mates in Montreal. This was the return of Braden Point, and we had a huge ovation for him at the Ice Palace. And it turns out he's pretty good at hockey still, so that was interesting to see, as he puts in 2 goals in 3 minutes. Crazy stuff. Both teams here relying on some call-ups as we get out of the break that the NHL had imposed on itself. We had both teams suiting up goalies from the minors, and just a lot of call-ups. There was the memes. There was the memes out there that it's the Crunch versus the Rocket, and but it was a wacky game. A little bit of rust, a little bit of nervousness, some of the Montreal players were getting their first goals ever in the NHL. It's some of the first minutes. Day for us was his first NHL game. But Ross Colton also got a nice power play goal. We love to say that on the program here. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of these periods, a wacky game, but another 2 points in overtime.
What a game, man. What a game. This was an exciting game. This felt like a playoff game to me. I hadn't seen hockey, I felt like, in a the Braden Point, man, I talked about it earlier in the show, but man, it just goes to show how important he is. That play, that first goal was, man, that thing was a thing of beauty. To stop on a dime like that and pinpoint it up in the corner. Beautiful shot, beautiful goal from Point, and like I said, I love beating the Canadian teams too, man. I love beating Montreal. The Habs fans love chirping online, and they, there's some diehard fans, even though their team's struggling this year. The Habs fans are always around and always chirping. So it's good to beat a team like Montreal. This was a crazy game. Me and you had texted yesterday about, is it going to be 1-1, 2-1 game, or is it going to be 12-10? And I think I remember telling you 12-10, which was close.
Yeah.
It was one of those games where it was a flip of the coin, with everything going on and these guys coming up and playing. So guys like Legacy, it's first game in the NHL, so we didn't know what to expect. This game was just a wacky game, man. I really got excited and got pumped when we scored that tying goal. I felt like it was a playoff game. I really did. I was really getting into it, watching that game, trying to wind down afterwards. It was tough. And then going into overtime, one thing I do want to bring up about this overtime is I want to clarify this real fast before these Habs fans come talking about the refs, okay? First of all, that was a clean check from Andre Palat at the end right there. And whoever it was on Montreal, Evans or whatever, blew a tire. He blew a tire. Stamkos did not trip him. He was already going down. That was his own fault. The Habs fans wanted a call. It wasn't going to happen. Clean play from Stamkos, and then a great pass to who other than Andre Palat, man. Andre Clutch Palat. I think that's what I'm going to call him from now on. He's been super clutch lately. He gets those game-winning goals for us, man. I think he's got, 5-6 game-winning goals for Lightning this year. So guys like Palat, just another underrated player on the team. And just an overall great game, exciting game. Glad to be back.
Yeah, as we dig in here, I want to start in the first period, and it eventually we get the 2 points, but like you said, it was a wacky. I mean, it was an intense game. Well, I got to start off by asking about Cal Foote here. In the first period, we give up a goal. Cal Foote looks way out of position, trying to force a Canadian out of the crease, and it leaves Vedemo just with nothing but wide open net in front of him to take a 1-goal lead for Montreal. Thankfully, Point made the equalizer a minute later, and then even we took the lead with a crazy, just really hardworking goal from Killorn, giving it to Palat for a little tap in, But Cal Foote, I wanted to talk about this person in particular before we get into all the kind of rainbows and sunshine. But 2 goals in this game. There was one in the second as well where he was chasing a bit deep away from the crease 2 times. In one instance to give the Habs an early lead, and in the second to give up a 2-1 lead. What did you? Am I wrong for thinking Cal Foote just did not have what it took, and maybe a game where some of the competition was more even keeled? I would have liked to see Cal Foote kind of rise to the expectations, or am I overthinking this and we were just rusty and Cal just had a bad night?
No, you're not overthinking it. I think Cal's really struggled so far in the NHL. I don't know if it's growing pains. I expected to see more out of him already this year. I feel like he's had time. Cooper and them are giving him plenty of time on the ice, especially with a lot of injuries between Chernak and Bogosian. So Cal Foote's kind of been bouncing around a little bit. I was hoping it was going to be a consistency thing. Maybe he needed to play more, but he's been playing enough, I feel like, and it's still not really settling in. He's definitely out of position, like you said, which is resulting in that first goal, which was just terrible. No one was there guarding the guy on the back side of the ice, which led to a goal. So he's just not where he needs to be. I don't want to give up on him yet. I think, like I've talked about it before, right. I think the potential's there. I just don't know what it's going to take for him to get there. But obviously, we're not halfway through the season yet, but we're getting there. So I think at some point he's got to really step up and show, what he's capable of doing, or he's probably not going to make this team come playoffs. I don't know. Barring injuries, we'll have to see. But he's definitely got some learning that needs to be done, and I expected him to be in a better position than where he is right now.
But moving on from that, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think he's got a lot of potential, so I don't want to give up on him. Let's not pull that trigger or anything. But it's definitely red alarms are going off in the background here. So, but I do want to go back to the second goal. I mean, this was a really good goal by Point. The Bolts working very hard on the boards in the offensive zone, almost like they were able to get into the forecheck. They were able to get into the zone and work really hard here. Killorn kind of ends up with the puck after some chaos ensues. He's right in the center of the ice, one-on-one, in between four different Montreal Canadiens, converging on him as he's one-on-one with the goaltender. And as everyone's kind of sucking into that gravity, he just sneaks it through three Montreal players, and basically all Point has to do is a little tappy tap. The ball goes in the hole, and we're celebrating after a pretty to me it was a demoralizing cow foot play that got us into a hole. A couple minutes later, we now have a 2-1 lead, and that's what we went into the second period with. Foot, though, like I said, giving up that partially giving up that second goal, but it was also Ross Colton. I mean, Harvey Pinard for Montreal was able to sneak, kind of creep in between Colton and Foot and puts it past Lagacé. But Colton would make up for that with a almost power play goal. He scores the third goal for the Bolts just outside of the power play time. So we almost had a power play goal, but it was good to see Ross Colton, after kind of being at a position with Foot there and letting a guy get in front of the net and just tap a little, 12 inches from the net, make up for it with a wonderful goal as the Bolts were able to go into the third with a 3-2 lead. So as you're sitting here, it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. How are you feeling going into the third period of this game?
I was pumped up, man. I really was. I was really confident. I was like, we're gonna eventually get another goal here and win this game. But I want to give a shout out to Alex Killorn last night, man. That guy was all over the place. He didn't get on the scoreboard, but he did get 2 assists. He finished with a +3 in the plus-minus column. He was everywhere. Creating traffic, a couple good breakaways, really good shots. He was hustling last night. Alex Killorn was low key one of my guys of the game last night. He was really stepping up, creating plays, creating turnovers. That great little sauce flip to Point, which led to the goal, was an awesome pass. I think Alex Killorn is one of those guys we talk about. He's streaky Killorn. When he's on fire, he is on fire, and he is a man on a mission. When he's not, he's not. He's cold. And I think last night Alex Killorn really played well. He looked really rested. Very just all over the place. It was really good to see Killorn playing strong last night. That's a good sign for the rest of the season if Killorn can stay on fire like that. But yeah, that pass from Stamkos to Colton was a beauty, and you could see Colton right away was like, "That's all you, Stammer. That's all you." Great pass. Colton was in the right spot. It was after the power play. I would have liked the power play goal, but it's for stats, But anyway, a goal's a goal. So. I mean, a great pass from Stammer to Colton, and I enjoy seeing Colton get on the scoreboard. I want to see a little more from him.
Well, there was a lot of penalties in that second period, and so unfortunately they weren't able to do more on the power play, but they do have the lead. But the Bolts gave up that lead to a game-tying goal in ugly fashion, really, really allowing Montreal to set up a great play for a slap shot near the blue line. It just kind of maybe playing. I mean, just the energy kind of seemed really low coming out of the third, and it was that. Oh no! Here comes those third period woes again. And I mean, just not good, and even more so with less than 7 minutes to go. Our old friend David Savard steals a puck at the blue line, skates between 4 different Bolts, and buries one in the top shelf. I mean, this is a game where you got your both teams have their third string goalies in. So I mean, really, I don't blame. I mean, yeah, if he would have made the save, it would have been great. But you let a dude just take your cookies, run down the hill and dunk them in your milk, and
Yep.
that's exactly what Savard was doing. Now, where was this Savard for the Lightning? Where's this
Absolutely.
offensive juggernaut of David Savard, man? Before we get to the really icing on the cake, what were your feelings about Savard scoring this and giving Montreal the lead late in the game?
I'm gonna give props to Savard, man. That was a little dingle dangle razzle dazzle,
Hell
man.
yeah.
He went around and pinpointed the corner, man. You know, I think it's his first goal since 2019, I believe they said last night. So unfortunately, it had to be against his ex team, and thank God we were able to come back and win this game. But great shot, man. Great shot. You know, it was great move, great shot, great dangle, great snipe, you know, from a defenseman like Savard. You know, it was a really good goal.
Yeah.
I watched it on replay a couple of times, and I was like, oh, wow, that was nasty. So
It was great.
Props to Savard, man. It was a nice shot.
Yeah, it was wonderful. But the Bolts didn't give up, and Scory Perry returns to send the game to overtime with a goal during the madness of the last seconds. I mean, they pulled the goalie, and with 19.7 seconds to go, your Bolts are going into overtime. The Ice Palace is just on fire. It just insane. The players are tripping over themselves, making a dog pile. It is 4-4, and how did your furniture survive you jumping on it? Did your dog scream and run into another room? Like how what were you feeling at 19.7 seconds to go?
I was pumped, man. You know, I had that feeling that we were going to get the goal and tie it. I could just see it. I felt like the momentum had swung back our way. We had that, like we talked about earlier, that we had a good zone time where they could really tire the Canadians out. Canadians had a lot of guys in that aren't in the NHL, as we talked about. So you knew they were going to be out of place. You knew the pressure was on them, and you knew veterans for the Bolts were going to step up and make a big play. And who other than Scory Perry to step up and make a big play? You know, what other veteran can you ask for? You know, a guy that's played great the past couple of weeks. He's really, like we talked about, once he got that monkey off his back, it's been old school Corey Perry. So glad to see him be able to get that tying goal. And then going into overtime, man, I was really pumped. And you know, I talked about it earlier. That was a clean check from Palat. I'm sorry, it was a great play. And then homie blew a tire, man. He straight up blew a tire. You know, it was great. It was a nice move, but Stammer was able to get the puck away from him and, you know, get it to Palat, and Palat just buried it. And Palat was just Mr. Clutch last night again with the game-winning goal. So fantastic game. It was what I expected, a high-scoring, going into the game with no expectations other than I just wanted to win. Didn't care how it was done. Didn't care who scored. Just wanted to come away with a win when you're missing guys like Bassey and Sergachev, and obviously Kuch will be returning here soon. So another great win for the boys, and another nice 2 points.
Felt really good, man. And as we turn the page to look towards the current and the future here for next week, before we get into that, I do want to mention that, you know, liking and subscribing is the number one way that you, for free, can support this podcast. We love doing this for you each and every week. We love talking about our sports teams, and as much as I appreciate that, if you wanted to go a little step further, we have an absolute killer shop. It's shop.rblrsports.com. We've got t-shirts celebrating all of our favorite teams. We have stuff in the colors of our soccer teams and our football teams and baseball teams and hockey, you name it. It's all at shop.rblrsports.com. If you use the promo code BOLTS, you will get 10% off your order as we turn the page to 2022. Ring that in with a brand new shirt, and we have a link right in the description, so it's easy to click and get it there. So let's move to injuries. According to The Athletic, the biggest news is that Erik Chernak still has not started skating, and he is considered week to week at this point. But I mean, we just got Point back, so I know we're on a high. We're waiting on these guys to get off COVID protocols, so it might be a little shaky for the next couple weeks. But Chernak getting back week to week, I'm not sure if you had seen any other reports about how long they're thinking he's still going to be.
I have not seen anything. I think it's kind of just a wait and see type of thing, especially in the NHL. They're very they hide all those injuries. So
yeah,
I don't have any insight on what the injury could be. You know, guys like Kuch is still on the timetable of returning here soon. So Honestly, I'm not even honestly with injuries now. I'm not even worried because the team's played so well through all this adversity. It's like, okay, I'm almost like, okay, who's next and who's going to be that guy that steps up and makes a big play. So obviously missing Chernak. Definitely want to see him and McDonough get back together. They were a killer line last year together in PK and played really well in the playoffs, shutting down the opponent's top line. So definitely hoping Chernak will return soon.
Now, you had spoke about Victor Hedman and given him kind of a tip of the cap here. I wanted to say that as we kind of look at overall thoughts for this week, as we wrap up, Victor Hedman now has 33 points, which is the best in the league for defensemen. He is absolutely tearing it up right now. The other thing I wanted to say too, because you had already talked about Hedman, so I don't. Just amazing, and I know you agree. So, the one other thing I wanted to point out that I don't know if it's been talked about, but the home ice advantage that the Lightning have absolutely been able to foster here. The Bolts now sit at 11 wins, 1 loss, 1 overtime loss now at home. They're currently on a 7-game home winning streak. The Ice Palace has become a fortress for the Lightning. Regardless of the players, they could have the Syracuse Crunch on the ice, and they're still going to find a way to win. What can you say, Chris, about what the Bolts have been able to accomplish within the confines of Amalie Arena?
Man, if you would ask me 2 months ago if we would have the best record in hockey right now, I'd probably laugh at you with all the injuries that had happened at that time. But here we are, sitting with the best record, most points in the NHL. Man, this is great. It's great place to be right now. Like we talked about, the Bolts are for sure going to be a playoff team. I didn't think they'd be sitting in first right now. Teams like Florida have kind of fallen off a little bit. Toronto's had their ups and downs here, and a lot of teams are battling with the COVID thing, unfortunately. So it's really hard to judge the league at the moment right now. But with everything going on, the Lightning are still playing really, really good hockey with everything we've been thrown. So everything's been thrown our way, and we're still finding a way to get it done. And that's why this team has been so successful the past couple seasons. And I think this team is really got to be looked at as one of the better teams in NHL history. I really do. If we're able to pull off a three-peat this year with the injuries and the adversity and everything going on, man, that's going to be three-peat for the Lightning, man. That's going to be one of those things that I think a lot of people are going to have to talk about. And look, you're going to look at these guys that we have at this time, like guys like Palat, Killorn, Stamkos, Kucherov, Point, Hedman, Sergachev, Vasilevsky. Like, you have an all-star team here, man. We really do. So I think when you look at this team on paper, this has got to be one of the better teams in NHL history. It really does. This team is we've been drafted really well. We've made really good trades. We were all talked about this season losing guys like Gord and Gaudreau, and how are we going to replace that line? And we've been fine. Yeah. We're still in first place in the league. So it just goes to show you that this team really believes in the system, really believe in Cooper. So I'm really happy to be sitting where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, the closest thing I can really think of is kind of in the 90s, you had the Red... This is before we had a salary cap, too.
Right.
You had the Red Wings, you had the Avalanche, these teams that were winning cups or fighting each other in the playoffs to get to the cup. And these are guys, you have the Fedorovs and Sakic's and Forsbergs and Osgood or Hasek and Waugh, and I mean it's like both teams were just suiting up Hall of Famers on every line. And so that's where I think the history books, if they're not already tilting that way, you had brought out the three-peat, and still, who knows? I mean, it's still a hard tournament. We've won 2 of them, so we know that it's very, very difficult to do that. But the DVD or the Blu-ray or the whatever of this season is probably going to be the most interesting already, just where we're sitting, the stories that these guys are going to hopefully eventually tell, whether it's in interviews or books or a documentary or something on the greatness of this team and what they've been able to accomplish. And, the jury's still out. Who knows what they'll do this year? But they've already accomplished so much, and they've done it through so much adversity, and so many different ways that you want to slice this. It's been a fun ride, and that's why we love doing this every week. So, Chris, as we wrap up here, we'll take a look at next week's games. There is a game against the Florida Panthers tomorrow. And then Friday for New Year's Eve, they're playing the New York Rangers at home. So there's a little bit of a quote-unquote road trip as they move down to the bottom of the peninsula to play the Panthers. But then they play the Rangers at a 7 p.m. time on New Year's Eve. And then they have to turn around and within 48 hours play the Rangers again in New York after New Year's at a 12:30 in the afternoon game on a Sunday. This is a crazy schedule, but how are you feeling? Like, what does success look like after talking about these 3 games here?
Well, for one, that Sunday game is going to be tough because the Bucks are playing the Jets as well. So you got Tampa sports are going to be live on Sunday. Come afternoon time. So it's going to be going to have to be a iPad and TV type of day. On Sunday. So going to have to split screen it a little bit. But exactly. Florida's fallen off a little bit. I kind of they started off really hot. They're on a 3-game losing streak. I know they're battling some stuff as well. Like I said, it's really hard to judge the league right now, just with everything going on, and it's so hard to really get a judgment on who's really good and who's really healthy and who's got guys in and guys out. Just a lot of teams just aren't playing games consistently, so they're struggling, I'm sure, to get any kind of momentum going right now around the league. So this Rangers series is going to be kind of intriguing. The Rangers seem to play us well. But having to play New Year's Eve and then, talk about it 48 hours later for an afternoon game, maybe, yeah. I don't know. I guess it depends on where the team's sitting with goalie situation at that time. Hopefully Vasi is back off the list. So maybe Elliott gets one of those games. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. It's not necessarily a back-to-back, but you could see Elliott maybe get in one of those games. I don't know, with the Lightning and Vasi having this much time off, he might be fine to go ahead and go play on that short turnaround there. So I'm not too worried. Like I said, everything we got going on, and we're still able to sit in first place. I don't see why we couldn't win all 3 of these games. Obviously, I'd love to win every game, but that's just not reality. But I think we can take it the one at Florida, and then New Year's Eve, and then we'll have to see who's in net come Sunday, obviously. But looking forward to hopefully a 3-game win streak next time we talk.
Yeah, just crazy to play a team home and away, back to back within 48 hours. Yeah. It's going to be crazy. So, but what hasn't been crazy is you have been sitting here listening to us, and we appreciate it so much. We appreciate you taking your time out of your lunch break or your commute, however you're listening to us. We just ask one more thing out of you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really, really, really means a lot to us as we continue to grow this podcast and give you the 2 points and the 3 stars and however you want to say it, the top quality content that we want to give you. So, Chris, final thoughts before we get out of here, man. This was exciting to have you back. I'm excited as we move forward and play more games, to have hopefully a little bit more consistency with the schedule. I know we'll get a little bit maybe into what they're going to do with the Olympics and not Olympics and all this kind of stuff. We can get into that as we get a little bit more clarity about the NHL schedule. But final thoughts from you, sir, on a great week of Bolts hockey. We are in first place. It's yours. Let's take it home, man.
It's a great time to be a Lightning fan. Like I said, sitting in first place. Say Happy New Year to everybody. No pun intended, but we'll see everyone next year. Ha ha ha. I'm sure we'll hear a lot of that joke this week. Didn't get to say Merry Christmas last week, so Merry Christmas to all the followers. It's a little delayed, but nonetheless, it still counts. So obviously, rolling into the new year, I expect the Lightning to continue playing at a high level. I expect to see this team back in the playoffs, and man, I really am hoping for that three-peat. Obviously, that would be so cool, and the one thing that we talk about a lot is how it's hard to beat the Lightning back-to-back, and that is the thing that the teams are going to have to do come playoff time, and beating the Bolts back-to-back is just not something that happens very often. So I think that gives us a really good chance to make a deep run in the playoffs and hopefully get back to Lord Stanley. So go Bolts, baby.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.